I had plenty of memories and sense impressions to play with. Not work with, no, play with. So it's not work if you love it, it's play. Dandelion wine is nothing if it is not the boy hidden the man, playing in the fields of the Lord on the green grass of other Augusts, in the midst of starting to grow up, grow old, and sense darkness waiting under the trees to seed the blood. I was amused and somewhat astonished at a critic a few years back who wrote an article analyzing dandelion wine, plus the more realistic works of Sinclair Lewis, wondering how I could have been born and raised in Waukegan, which I renamed Greentown for my novel, and not noticed how ugly the harbor was and how depressing the coal docks and rail yards down below the town. This is what got me. But of course I had noticed them, and, genetic enchanter that I was fascinated with their beauty. Trains and boxcars and the smell of coal and fire are not ugly to children. Ugliness is a concept that we happen on later and become self-conscious about. Counting boxcars is a prime activity of boys. Their elders fret and fume and jeer at the trains that hold them up, but boys happily count and cry the names of the cars as they pass from far places. And again, that supposedly ugly rail yard was where carnivals and circuses arrived with elephants who washed the brick pavements with mighty steaming acid waters at 5 in the dark morning. As for the coal from the docks, I went down in my basement every autumn to await the arrival of the truck and its metal chute, which clanged down and released a ton of beauteous meteors that fell out of far space into my cellar and threatened to bury me beneath dark treasures. In other words, if your boy is a poet, horse manure can only mean flowers to him, which is, of course, what horse manure has always been about. Waukegan, Greentown. Greentown did exist then, right? Yes. Yes, it did. Was there a real boy named John Huff? There was. And that was truly his name. But he didn't go away from me. I went away from him. But happy ending, he is still alive 42 years later and remembers our love. Was there a lonely one? There was. And that was his name. And he moved around at night in my hometown when I was 6 years old, and he frightened everyone and was never captured. Most importantly, did the big house itself with Grandpa and Grandma and the boarders and uncles and aunts in it exist? Well, I've already answered that. Is the ravine real and deep and dark at night? It was. It is. I took my daughters there a few years back, fearful that the ravine might have gone shallow with time. I'm relieved and happy to report that the ravine is deeper, darker, and more mysterious than ever. I would not, even now, go there after seeing Phantom of the Opera. So there you have it. Waukegan was Greentown, with all the happiness that means, with all the sadness that these names imply. The people there were gods and midgets and knew themselves mortal, and so they walked tall so as to not embarrass the gods, and the gods crouched so as to make the small ones feel at home. After all, isn't that what life is all about? The ability to go around back and come up inside other people's heads to look out at the damn fool miracle and say, oh, so that's how you see it. Well now, I must remember that. Here is my celebration then of death as well as life, dark as well as light, old as well as young, smart and dumb, combined, sheer joy as well as complete terror, written by a boy who once hung upside down in trees, dressed in his bat costume with candy fangs in his mouth, who finally fell out of the trees when he was 12 and went and found a toy dial typewriter and wrote his first novel. A final memory. Fire balloons. You rarely see them these days, though. In some countries, I hear they're still made and filled with warm breath from a small straw fire hung beneath. But in 1925 Illinois, we still had them. And one of the last memories I have of my grandfather is the last hour of a 4th of July night, 48 years ago, when Grandpa and I walked out on the lawn and lit a small fire and filled the pear-shaped, red, white, and blue striped paper balloon with our hot air and held the flickering, bright angel presents in our hands a final moment in front of a porch lined with uncles and aunts and cousins and mothers and fathers, and then, very softly, let the thing that was life and light and mystery go out of our fingers, up on the summer air and away, over the beginning-to-sleep houses, among the stars, as fragile, as wondrous, as vulnerable, as lovely as life itself. Oh, he's such a good writer. I see my grandfather there, looking up at that strange drifting light, thinking his own still thoughts. I see me, my eyes filled with tears, because it was all over. The night was done. I knew there would never be another night like this. No one said anything. We all just looked up at the sky, and we breathed out and in, and we all thought the same things, but no one said. Someone finally had to say, though, didn't they? And that one was me. The wine still waits in the cellars below. My beloved family still sits on the porch in the dark. The fire balloon still drifts and burns in the night sky of an as yet unburied summer. Why and how? Because I say it is so. Ray Bradbury, Summer, 1974. I love this book. I love artists that find the beauty in the really hard stuff, because right now it's really hard.
It's been over 10 minutes.
And we have kids that must be taken to the pool and must be entertained. And to celebrate all the good stuff that's hidden in the bad, I really hope we can all celebrate Ray's birthday by donating to a museum that's going to honor him. So make your donations, celebrate 100 years of Ray Bradbury, and have a glorious summer. Happy birthday! Say happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!